Hello everyone. My name is Kaleen, and today we are talking about wrist pain in Pilates. Now, this is a hot topic. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have wrist pain when I am in some of these positions for an extended period of time. And I really wanted to know, as I was going through my Pilates journey, is this normal? Should I be feeling this? Where should I be feeling this? Why is this? And unless you have a specific condition or medical history that prevents you from loading your wrists, for most of us, we actually want to load our wrists because it makes them stronger, more robust, and resilient. And so we want to be really clear about differentiating between pain and discomfort. And discomfort is okay, but very sharp, acute pain, we need to figure out another way to achieve a similar result. So the first thing we're going to talk about here is wrist prep. So when we're going into a Pilates move, sometimes the teacher is not going to spend an extended period of time preparing your wrists and shoulders to be loaded. And so in that case, you want to add this kind of 5-minute prep work to your routine so that your wrists and shoulders are ready to be loaded. Now, I say shoulders as well because remember, everything is connected, and a lot of times compression and discomfort at the wrist can come from discomfort, pressure, pain, compression at the neck and the shoulders and the elbow. And so we want to get this whole upper body chain open, and then we want to get our wrists moving before we load them too much on the reformer or the floor, whatever you're doing. So the first thing I want you to do is find a wall. You need a big space on the wall. We are going to do a wall clock. This is one of my favorite mobility exercises. And so let's start by facing parallel to the wall. And the foot closest to the wall is going to step forward. And the hand closest to the wall is going to come up onto the wall. Spread those fingers wide, palm against the wall. So my thumb is facing forward. Now, if this does not feel good for your shoulder, super common, you have a couple options. You can step further away, or you can angle a little bit more toward the wall, or you can maybe not go quite as high. But we're going to try and work in as big of a range of motion as possible here so that we can open up the chest and the shoulder. All right, so from here, we're starting at 12 o'clock, and we're slowly keeping the chest mostly forward, going to walk your fingers and your hand backwards towards, in this case, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And I really feel that stretch in that 3 o'clock position. And then keep going down 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, until you're at 6 o'clock. And in this position, I want you to think about extending the distance between your ear and your fingertips. Okay? Maybe you can even tip your head a little bit away from the wall and feel a little stretch. Don't force it. Don't have to do that. It's up to you, but sometimes it feels good. Now let's walk the hand back up the way it came to that 12 o'clock position. Keeping the chest forward while reaching your arm long really increases the stretch here. All right, so the hand is walking all the way back up to 12 o'clock. And at that 12 o'clock position, if it's accessible to you, you're gonna reach up even further and lean into the wall and see if we can get some length from the hip up through the armpit into the fingertips. Big breath. And then come on up and stand. Let your arms hang. Oh man, I just feel so much more open on the side that I just worked, okay? So let's turn around and do the same thing on the other side. So, other shoulder toward the wall, foot closest to the wall, steps forward. Palm goes on the wall at the 12 o'clock position. If you can get closer to the wall, great. If you need to step away from the wall, that's okay. Don't be freaked out if one arm is way different than the other. Also very normal. We just keep working on it. Slowly take that arm just like the arm of a clock and walk it back. In this case, I'm going to the 9 o'clock position and then to 6 o'clock. But depending on which side you started on, you may pass 3 o'clock to get to 6 o'clock. And once your hand is down at that 6 o'clock position, really lengthen the arm down toward the floor. Keep your chest forward, press the palm against the wall, tip your head away. Big breath, and then start the arm back up, around the clock, toward the 12 o'clock position. Now, I love for my chest to stay forward as much as possible, but you can see, like at certain points, my chest has to turn, my torso has to turn, and that's okay. I just want to increase the stretch across my chest in the front of the armpit. Now at that 12 o'clock position, if you can, lean into the wall, reach the arm up to the ceiling, breathe. Good, and then step away, shake it out. Great. So we did a little opening of the shoulders here. Now let's load the wrists. So I'm going to demonstrate this on the wall, but you can also load on the floor on your hands and knees. So the wall is a little bit less load, but on your hands and knees, you get a little bit more load. So you get to pick, you can try both, you get to pick where you're at today. So 3 wrist positions, always with straight elbows. Let's go ahead, put your arms out like you're gonna give someone a high 10 or 2 high 5s, and lean against the wall here. Now I want my fingers to be spread really far apart, and the further away my feet are from the wall, the more load is on my wrists. The other thing is I want the bottom of your palm to be flat on the wall. I've got some mobility issues on my left wrist, so I actually can't do that if my hands are too low. I can't get my wrist doesn't bend that way. So I have to walk my wrist up a little bit, so it's either level or a little higher than my shoulders, so that I can get my whole palm on the wall with my elbows straight. Now my arms are at least as wide as my shoulders, okay? We don't want to be too narrow. And my shoulders are strong. I'm pushing into the wall. So I've got a lot of space between the shoulders, the ears, the chest. Now from this position, I'm just gonna rock side to side. And I should feel a stretch. If you don't feel a stretch, walk your hands down the wall until you do feel a stretch. Remember, your elbows are always straight. So we're doing a little rocking. Good. All right, second wrist position. We're going to turn the palms still against the wall, but fingertips toward the floor. So I like to start low on this one and then walk my hands up. So elbows stay straight, and then take your hands as high as you can go so you feel a nice stretch on the forearm here, the back of the wrist or the underside of the wrist. Again, fingers spread wide, middle finger's got to point toward the floor, and let's do a little rocking side to side. Good. And shake it out. We've got a third and final position. This one can be the most sensitive, so you really want to limit how much weight you put on it to start. But you can get super crazy. I mean, people do handstands like this crazy stuff. I don't know. Not me. Not for me. We're going to take your fingers still toward the floor, but the backs of the hands on the wall. Okay? So you can start low and then walk your hands up. And I want most of the back of your hand against the wall. Elbows are super straight, so you feel this stretch along the top of the forearm. Okay? So very subtle side to side rock. Very subtle. All right, shake your wrists out. So now that we're ready to practice loading your wrists in a class, I want to talk about a few modifications that might help you be able to load your wrists without too much discomfort. So the first thing is I personally love the foot bar. So any chance I get to be on my hands, I'm going to be on the foot bar, or I'm going to be on the edge of a box or the carriage or the shoulder rests. Now, the reason for this is because my limited wrist mobility makes a lot of wrist extension really hard, but if I can scoot my hand forward and get a little less extension, it's much easier. So again, the further back your wrist is, the more you're going to crease, and that can sometimes be more painful. But if you get your wrist forward a little bit, we open up this angle here, and it's a little bit easier to create load. Now, the second thing is your shoulders position is really important in relationship to your hands. So I want your hands to be usually wider than your shoulders. It doesn't have to be crazy wide. And then I usually want them to be a little bit in front of your shoulders, right? So I'm not directly over, I'm a little bit further back. And what that does is, again, it helps this angle of the wrist, and it keeps the chain from your neck to your shoulder to your elbow in a little bit more comfortable position so you're not so cramped, and that crampedness doesn't carry down into your wrists. So anytime you can modify to get a little bit of something under your wrists to basically take from that very, very hard wrist angle to a little bit softer wrist angle, that's going to help. Now, the final thing to remember is if you can only do a few reps on your wrists, do the reps on your wrists and then switch to your elbows. Anytime we can practice progressively loading your wrists, it's going to help them get stronger. I don't want you to push through pain, but discomfort is okay. And that's going to help your body adapt and get used to that kind of load. It's going to make your wrist stronger so you can do more fun, beautiful, graceful, hard things in your Pilates class and in your life. All right, so that concludes our little wrist prep and tutorial for today. If you've got any questions or comments, leave me a message down below, and I hope to see you in a Flexia class.